Distinguished Senator Yar'adua.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name's Abdulaziz Musa Yar'adua. I represent the good people and Nigerians living in Katsina Central. Mr. President, may I rely on Order 41 and 51? With your permission.
Yes, read out the order. Use your mic.
The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. 51. Notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. So, Mr. President, with your permission.
Distinguished colleagues, Senator Yar'adua had actually approached me on an urgent matter that had to do with almost a major threat to life. And he wishes to go ahead to raise it. Is it the view of the Senate that he be allowed? Those who are in support say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I wish to move a motion on matter of urgent public importance on the urgent need to investigate the abuse of firearms by officers of the Nigerian Customs Service in Katsina State. Aware that the Nigerian Customs Service is authorized to carry firearms in the course of their duties. This is aimed at assisting the service to effectively counter activities of smugglers who have recently become emboldened in their attack on custom personnel, in many cases using sophisticated weapons. Worried that some officers of the Nigerian Customs Service, who should be civil and professional in their engagements and handling of firearms, have had a series of shootings of innocent citizens. Recall that on 14th August 2021, the former governor of Katsina State, Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari, threatened to sue the Nigerian Customs Service over the killing of residents during one of their border drills in the state. During this same period, the House of Representatives invited the former Comptroller General of Customs, Colonel Hamid Ali retired, to appear before it to explain the circumstances leading to that unfortunate incident. Disturbed by the recurring killings of innocent people by customs operatives in Katsina, the House of Representatives on 3rd February 2022 ordered the Nigerian Customs Service to pay 390 million naira as compensation to families of 10 victims that were killed and 13 others injured in Jibia local government area of Katsina State. Further disturbed that on 13th July 2023, the Chief of Staff to the Katsina State Governor, Alhaji Jabir Sauri, had a narrow escape from a harrowing assault from Nigerian Customs Service officials. Worried that officers of the Nigerian Customs Service at a location near Gorar Emma Highway shot indiscriminately at the vehicle conveying the Chief of Staff to the governor with other aides and close family members. He just managed to escape with his life. Concerned that the officials of the Nigerian Customs Service are yet to apprehend or arrest the erring officers or bring them to book for the unfortunate incident. The Senate recalls that in September 2021, personnel of the Nigerian Customs Service shot at the convoy of the former Katsina State Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Alhaji Umar Gojo Gojo, while driving from Daura to Yar'adua local government area of Katsina State. Worried that the inability to checkmate this recurring abuse of firearms by officers of the Nigerian Customs Service might lead to further loss of innocent lives and possibly reprisal attacks by angered civilians. Consequently, the Senate resolves condemn the indiscriminate shooting by officers of the Nigerian Customs Service on 13th July 2023 in Katsina State. Urge the Nigerian Customs Service to fish out the erring officers and investigate the incident that led the custom operatives to open fire on unarmed civilians. Urge the Nigerian Customs Service to improve on the training of its personnel in handling firearms, especially fire discipline, when dealing with Nigerian citizens. I so move, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senate President Emeritus.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan. I represent Yobe North Senatorial District. And thank you for the opportunity and privilege. Distinguished colleagues, I stand to second this motion and also make some comments. First, let me commend most of the Nigeria Customs Service personnel. In fact, our armed forces and other security agencies for serving us so well to the best of their ability with our limited resources. Most of them put their lives on the line to protect us and protect our country. But Mr. President, whoever would be given arms and ammunition must receive very proper treatment and sanctioning those who are trained to handle the weapons is supposed to be part of the training and part of the treatment. There could be only 1-2 incidents in a long time. But when such an incident happens, it tends to impinge on the integrity of the institution. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I believe that whoever is given a bullet, just one bullet, whether it is customs or police or any armed forces or security agencies, must account for that bullet when it is not available anymore. I know that in the armed forces, you have to explain where a bullet has gone. I don't know whether that applies to the customs, but the issue is there must be reward and sanctions. For those that have killed or maimed people, there must be consequences. And I believe that this motion, even though it's at the moment talking about what the customs did, but it applies to all our security agencies and armed forces. And I believe that the investigation must be thorough and somebody must take responsibility. And when we come to the prayers, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, for prayer 2 particularly, we must give a time frame within which this investigation and its outcome should be completed. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yes, distinguished Senator Joel.
Mr. President, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. My distinguished colleagues, my name is Joel Onuabo Thomas Omazino. I represent Delta South Neutral District, the oil producing area of Delta State. Well, I want to thank my colleague, Senator Musa Yar'adua, for bringing up this motion. To say that we need to carefully look at this and investigate this incident is not overstating the facts. Not only the customs, even in Delta State recently, NDLE officers shot and killed a 2-year-old baby. And I think the combined effect is not for only the customs, the NDLA, and other security agencies. When they use their arms, they must be accountable for it, and it should be investigated, and whoever is a culprit, bring to book. So I so support this motion. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, distinguished Senator Tony Moye.
Thank you, my dear President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Dr. Tony Moye, representing Anambra North Senatorial District. My President, distinguished colleagues, I want to support this all-important motion of national urgent importance. Why I want to support is that this motion is not calling for punishment of the erring officers only. He is saying that we should have to, the Senate has to set up a committee to investigate. Distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, if this Senate rises up after our investigation to recommend punishments for these erring officers, if they are found guilty, it will send a signal to other people who carry arms and feel that they can go do anything and get away with it. I'm supporting this motion because there were many similar cases in the past where some of these officers, be police officers, be military, be custom officers, did this type of thing in Katsina and other states of federation and got away with it. I'm supporting this motion that this Senate should, as a Senate of Nigerian people, adopt this motion. Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity.
Distinguished Senator Ningi.
Mr. President, my name is Senator Abdul Ningi, and I represent Bauchi Central, Bauchi State. Mr. President, let me in particular thank Senator General Musa Yar'adua, and of course, align myself substantially with the position and disposition of the former Senate President, Senator Ahmed Lawal, on the premise that custom officers generally around Nigeria have done so well. But I'm disturbed, Mr. President, while outside the National Assembly, I have noticed two separate motions on this particular subject matter by members of the House of Representatives. Then the custom was under the leadership of Colonel Hamid Ali, and I think because he's a military officer, or he was a military officer, he hardly differentiates the role of the custom and that of the military. It is that corridor that has been a recurring dismal. There hasn't been issues with custom in Lagos, in Ibadan, in the east, and in the southwest. But the corridor between Katsina, Niger, Kano, a lot of people lost their lives simply because they are suspected of carrying a bag of rice. They will stop. Sometimes you lose brake, they will shoot you. Even on motorcycle, where it is physically seen that somebody is carrying a bag of rice, because some officers will just shoot and then they will kill. And nothing happens over the years. And therefore, when this motion comes up, it rhymes with the difficulty the governor of Katsina State is facing, because his chief of staff has rightly put it, narrowly missed his life, because there was bombardment and sporadic shooting by custom officials, all in the vein of looking for those who bring in rice from Niger Republic. It is just about rice, sir. It is rice, rice, rice. The major people who actually do the racketeering are not being watched. Those smugglers, those full-time smugglers are seen and known, but nobody apprehends them. Nobody even arrests them. Nobody even calls them to question. But the few ones that goes to around the border, get one bag of rice, are killed. And that's why this motion becomes very, very important, because it's a question of people losing their lives just to earn a living. So I think it is important for members of the National Assembly, particularly Senate, to understand the scope. It is about that corridor. I don't know whether there is a direct order by the establishment that whoever carries anything illegal should be shot. But that has been the order of the day, Mr. President. And I think this motion is deserving of our attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Distinguished Senator Solomon Adiola Olamileko.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague. Let me thank the mover of this motion for bringing this motion before the Senate. And for those that have contributed, let me also thank them immensely. Mr. President, before I make my comment, let me put it on record that I disagree with Senator Ningi that this has not been the order of the day in the southwestern part of this country, of our country. Mr. President, I'm representing the border town. My senatorial district is referred to the real gateway states of Nigeria, because I border Seme, that is the Benin Republic. Mr. President, I want to agree that there is urgent need for us to review the activities of the Nigerian custom in our borders across this country. This indiscriminate killing is just getting too much. Mr. President, in my senatorial district, every month, one person must lose his or her life to the Nigerian custom. Every month, once a month. Once a month. And what is the reasons? The reasons are a bag of rice, they have come to pick some maybe flour or whatever. Sir, that we have borders in our senatorial district, it's not our making. It's not our making. And if people there are trying to legally take advantage of what is within their domain, I don't think killing should be an option or the best way to address these people. And I'm saying this because, Mr. President, I've witnessed so many. During my electioneering campaign, it was a major issue. Let me give you another instance. In my senatorial district as we speak, if you want to get all the filling stations along the borderline have been shut down, all because of smuggling of petroleum products. Now, federal government now put up a policy that for you to get a petroleum product, you have to travel from the border 20 kilometers into the town to get fuel. And by the time you travel from the border to 20 kilometers to the town, and by the time you are returning without fuel, you don't have fuel again. So these people now resorted to the idea of carrying kegs to buy fuel back home so that they can use for their business around the borderline. Sir, as we speak, subsidy has been removed. So there is no need for us to close or give that. And it's not something that we just take, we just a wave of hand that yes, it's not one of those motions, because it will not be too good for us as the representative of the people to start inciting our people against the Nigerian custom. So we are bringing this to the table for us to call on the Nigerian custom and the new acting Controller General of Custom as a matter of urgency to set up a technical committee to review all this process, because enough is enough. As the Senate President, former Senate President have said, before you give anybody arms, I think there should be psychiatric tests. And they must look after them, because those people at the border, you need to go and see their activities. And the last CG Custom, all these issues, I've visited him in office, I have talked to him about this. So for us to have this motion before us, Mr. President, we must take it with all seriousness to address this issue once and for all.
Thank you. I think the anger you are expressing is a reflection of the feelings of the entire Senate, because the issue is very serious. But let me hear from the Distinguished Senator Sadiq.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. I am Sadiq Suleiman Umar, and I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North, and we all are. Mr. President, I need to be protected. They are having a debate. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, like it's been said, this is worrisome, but we must also accept that our military officers, security agency, uniform men, they are doing excellently well. When you look at the magnitude of those who do the right thing, it takes a few that misbehave to create problem to us in the society. Mr. President, I think that our systems, we keep on talking of system strengthening. Strengthening of our systems and our institutions is multidimensional. The most strongest dimension is what the legislature represents. In other words, one of our tools is by resolutions. Issues come from our constituency, we debate it, and we have resolutions. These resolutions, Mr. President, we need to make it have a better teeth. And to do that, I think that we need to look at the comprehensive approach to this problem, not only about customs. The police are doing their own, other military agencies, they are doing their own. We need to have a strong resolution from this Senate to engage these security chiefs and say, this is the bare minimum in this country. A life of a citizen is so critical that anybody who operates outside the laid down fundamental framework of rules of engagement must face the consequences. Our problem is compliance and punishment and consequences of not doing the right thing or doing wrong thing. Mr. President, I think we need to take our resolution very seriously and ensure that the people know you do wrong, you are going to pay for it. That's what we need to ensure in this country, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Father Hansen.
Mr. President, thank you very much. My distinguished colleagues, in as much as I support the motion of covering this excessiveness of these officers, automatically, I'm very happy today that what we were fighting for then is now, and what was being prevented from coming to the floor of the House, of the Senate, is now in the open. Mr. President, In the last 7 years, the custom has been very militarized, highly. The authority was military. Automatically, you know that custom is a civil organization to collect and to prevent, to collect revenue and to prevent smuggling. At times, you prevent smuggling by persuasion, not by wielding guns. The last 7 years, under retired a brigadier general, serving brigadier general, was brought in to be posting custom officers vis-a-vis with military officers to go and prevent so-called smuggling. And when we rose against it in the committee, we were not allowed to do the real job then from this Senate. Today, I'm very happy that the former Senate President is complaining because it has come to his mouth. The same Ali that they were protecting is now haunting them. Automatically, why must you tolerate a military incursion in the custom? Custom to collect revenue and to prevent smuggling. It doesn't need to kill anybody because of rice. It doesn't need to kill anybody because of tokumbo. But when he kills today and nobody sanctioned him because he has somebody there, he didn't respect anybody here as at that time. Until the last day he left, it was a war. Mr. President, now that a civilian has come there, he's a well-trained officer. Automatically, what he's doing now is to demilitarize the customs. Although they are killing the so-called smugglers, they are killing them too. And many of them have been buried to unknown places that we are still looking for them till tomorrow. But for us now, it's for the man there now to start demilitarizing customs so that everything is not by wielding gun inside town, inside market, opening shops. It's not in our heart. It's there. But when the military man is posting them, and you know the work of a military man is to go and fight war. Anybody on your way that is preventing you, you kill. And when this rice, the issue of rice was banned, we shouted that it will amount to killing our people. Because many of them, they don't know where to go. Nigeria is consuming 7.2 million metric tons a year. The rice farmers, most of them are here. The rice farmers could not produce up to 3 million a year. Where is the balance? Automatically, you allow rice to come in and collect your revenue. But if you say you are going to ban their livelihood, these people will go back to smuggling. And Mr. President, we need to call on the new administration to start removing the bad egg, particularly those ones that on border drill, there are many squads that they are not in our act. This is what the new administration is doing up and down. Give him the chance, and we call him on what to do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Shuaibu Afolabi SAS.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to lend my voice to this motion, and I will provide a background. My name is Shuaibu Afolabi Salis, Ogun Central. Ogun Central is part of Ogun State called the Gateway State. To give you an idea, Abeokuta, the state capital, is hundreds of kilometers away from the border towns. Indeed, it will take you 4 hours to travel from Ogun West to Ogun Central, where we share border with the Benin Republic. Our traders in Abeokuta, the state capital, who sell rice, will sometimes wake up in the morning and find out their shops have been looted under the pretext of customs trying to look for smuggled rice. You don't go to somebody's shop at 3 a.m. when the person is not there. You break open the shop, then you are looking for smuggled rice in the shop. Ogun East, that is also even further away from the border town. You find customs moving from the border town to Shagam to Ijebu-Ode, and the process, they also kill people, not at the border towns now, but right inside major cities in Ogun State, under the pretense that some of these traders, when I serve as the chief of staff to the governor of the state, we set up a committee, and the traders will say, all these customers would not come to their shops at midnight. From the border town up to the point they get to Abeokuta, they settle them all the way. Why would you collect money from them on the way, only to come to their shops at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., under the pretext of looking for smuggled rice? So I think the issue requires, just goes beyond mere condemnation and urging the Nigerian Customs to set up an investigation. This Senate must rise to the occasion, not only for the loss of lives, but the loss of livelihood of our people in different parts of the country, regardless of whether you share borders with other countries or you are even within towns. Therefore, I am when we get to the prayers, that we need to set up an ad hoc committee to look at these issues in totality to prevent occurrence of this ugly incident now and then. Thank you, Mr. President.
Air Vice Marshal Napoleon Bali, distinguished senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Napoleon Bali, senator representing Plateau South. I just want to create your indulgence to note that most of these firearms and the way they use them, there are standing instructions regarding firearms, especially the presiding officers that you have your orderlies. Please ensure that all those ones have their pistol on safety catch. Now, the problem we're having with some of these customs, civil defense, most of them are using what we call the G3 rifles, the FN rifles. Ordinarily, most of these rifles have been decommissioned from the military because when you press the trigger, it easily goes out. So what I just want us to note is that even if you call the customs or you call whoever that is in charge, they will come and tell you that they've tried to train these people. What I want to just encourage, sir, let us make sure that defaulters are heavily punished, because the sponsor of the motion knows fully well in the military, accidental discharge where it leads to fatality, you will be court-martialed and the penalty is death. And that trial takes place as speedily as possible. So if some of these trials can take place and people are punished whenever, because every security personnel carrying firearms, you're supposed to know that your firearm is supposed to always be on safety catch, especially those using FN rifles and G3, and because those are most of the rifles I've been seeing customs using. So what I am supporting the motion, but what I'm just begging in the prayers is that let this Senate ensure that all defaulters are heavily punished. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished Senator Yari.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My colleagues, Abdulaziz Abubakar, I represent Zamfara West. Mr. President, I'm from Zamfara State. Mr. President, let me first commend the mover of this motion and be me part of the stakeholders in the first Sagamna and bordering GBA border. This occurrence has been there for a very long time. And I can tell you, Mr. President, one of the issues of insecurity and insurgency, this is part of it. As you are aware, Mr. President, people living around that border, their livelihood is this business. For a very, very long time, once the custom decide to take position of shoot aside, what happened? The smugglers went and collaborate with the bandits. So therefore, it's become a kind of clash that happening day in, day out. Mr. President, yes, there's a rules of engagement. They should not shoot until maybe on self-defense or otherwise. But Mr. President, is a situation that in that area is very, 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 very. If those groups, I was opportune to meet with them in 2017. They come to pay me courtesy call. When I started asking, where is one person she was shot by custom? Why this person was shot by custom? Why? And they mentioned about 10 out of them. All of them were shot by custom. I asked them how. They said the position they have taken is anybody that came with rice, not any drugs or any other thing, rice. So, Mr. President, I'll be on the opinion that this Hello Chamber should take this matter very serious. The life of human in Nigeria, I think, is valued. The chicken is more valued than that which is not supposed to. In governance, the post is life and property of citizens. But if we can employ and give guns to the people to protect the life and properties and safeguard our territorial integrity and standing up against our citizens, I think this is something serious needs to be done. So therefore, Mr. President, I will flow with let's have a kind of a committee to interact with the custom and find a lasting solution, because it's not having our government very well. So, Mr. President, thank you very much.
Let me, we have to end the discussion, but let me hear from is there anybody who is opposed to this motion? I noticed Senator Alero seems to be opposed to the motion. Senator Alero, let's hear, since you are opposed to the motion. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, I am not against the motion, but rather I'm in support of it, because what the customs are doing is to protect our borders. Importation of rice in this country is not banned, it's not prohibited. What the law says is that you should bring the rice through the seaport, not through the border. And you pay 70% import duty and clear it and bring it to the market to sell. Unfortunately,
just a question. Just a question. In Katsina, you see a village that is less than 1 kilometer from the next country. So for them to buy rice and sell, they have to take the other country should take the rice to Lagos port, bring it in and pay 70%, then take it back to Katsina. And then, okay, please.
To be clear, let me let Mr. President.
Use your, because you are saying that there is only one entry that is allowed by and that entry is through the seaport. And so if it is through the land border and you are just living half a kilometer away, you can't go there and buy and pay duties.
Let me learn so that... Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. As I said earlier, importation of rice in this country is not prohibited. You can bring rice and clear it through the port. You pay the custom duty at 70%, and the NAFDAC, that is
National Agency for Food, Drug and Administration and Control will certify that the rice is in good condition and there is no problem for Nigerians to eat it. Unfortunately, smugglers have resorted to using our border, smuggling rice that is not even certified for human consumption. And the government has been advertising in the dailies and also in the electronic media that you patronize Nigerian made rice because it is more healthy for you to take it. Mr. President, it is not only rice that is the issue. We have frozen chicken. Right now, poultry farmers are seriously being threatened because of importation of frozen chicken, and they put formaldehyde in order to preserve it and bring it into the country for consumption. Even wearing apparatus, Mr. President, doesn't come through the border. And Nigeria is losing a lot of revenue. And as for the use of arms, the custom officers are not allowed to shoot and kill. They are allowed to shoot the tires and, if possible, stop the vehicle that is carrying the prohibited item or uncustomed item. So the issue of investigating the officers that shot the smugglers is in order. I support it. And I know customs, they have been doing that, and they have been putting quite a number of them under dismissal. They have been dismissed. They have been handed over to the police for prosecution. Some of them have even been convicted. I know several that have been dismissed and been prosecuted. They are now in prison. So, Mr. President, let me use this opportunity to commend the Nigerian Customs Service for defending our borders. I know the borders are so porous. I come from a state that has border with two countries, Benin Republic and Niger Republic. And I know the activities of smugglers there. They operate recklessly. And customs officers are trying their best to stop them. In one day, Mr. President, they can move over 50 to 100 tankers of petroleum products into Niger Republic and into Benin Republic. And they don't even go through the approved route. They go through the bush. So if customs officers see them, they normally shoot their tires, deplete the vehicle, and then seize the petroleum products. So while I commend the mover of the mission, we have to also state what the customs are doing. They are doing their best to protect our borders. They are doing their best to protect our local industries. Because right now, the poultry industry is being threatened. Even rice processing and even rice farmers, they are being threatened. And let me tell the Senate that most of the people that are doing smuggling of rice are not Nigerians. They are Asians, they are Lebanese. They bring 5 shiploads of rice and discharge them at Cotonou, and they use agents to bring them into the country. Because they know if they bring them into Nigeria, they will pay 70% import duty. And there is no way they can compete with locally produced rice if they pay 70%. So we need to protect our industries. We need to protect our producers. Right now, the poultry farmers are closing their farms simply because they can no longer compete with the frozen chicken brought from Brazil. A shipload of frozen chicken is being brought on a weekly basis. And they use formaldehyde to embalm the chicken so that it will not rot. And they bring it into the country and people consume it. And that is causing cancer and other related diseases. So, Mr. President, we should know this. And the customs are doing their best. The issue of shooting, nobody can support it. Yes, we have to tell the customs that you have to observe the rule of engagement. Nobody will support shooting of innocent people. So that's my case, Mr. President.
But thank you for your contribution, but I think what we tend to worry about is how one bag of rice will lead to capital punishment. You know, if you are carrying a bag of rice on a motorbike and you are shot dead, and like the senator Sars said that sometimes, in fact, I think it's Senator Yari that said that by the time he visited a particular community, those who voted for us in 2015, over 10 of the boys had died. And they were all shot by custom, shot by custom, shot by custom. So it means that it's something that we must look at holistically. Why are they doing it? And that means even if you bought rice in the market, you could also be shot dead. That's a simple truth. It may not necessarily be a smuggled rice. But Senator Danduse, you are from Katsina, and you must have something. You must have had an experience on this matter, so we can close it and go into other issues. Senator Danduse. Yes.
I'm Senator Danduse Muntar Mohammed, representing Katsina South. This situation is very unfortunate. If you look at it critically, it's very alarming considering the fact of the situation on ground. By looking at the criminals elements, they operate normally in the night, but the customs only operate in the morning, and they disturb the innocent citizens when dealing with the activities of what is happening. So that is why you may discover that they only attack the innocents and the responsible people in the morning and allow the criminal element to operate in the night. That is why you are seeing all these armed infiltration and all this banditry and criminality in the Northwest is always persistent, because I made it very clear when the former Controller General of Customs came. I'm in the Committee of Customs. I asked him, why are they by 6 o'clock, they leave the areas for the criminals? They are not doing what they are supposed to do. They are always killing people. In my constituency, they kill a lot of drivers when they are taking just bag of rice. And they are not taking care of what they are supposed to do responsibly to man the borders and ensure peace and security of this country. I think the fundamental aspect, Mr. President, on this very important, we need to have a holistic approach to this existing situation for the landmark of the future, because the 10th Assembly is determined to ensure peace and security of this country. And for us, we have to constitute an ad hoc committee. My prayer is to constitute an ad hoc committee that will look this lingering problem so that we can come to an end to this very unfortunate situation. Because all the border towns is like that. They allow the criminals elements to operate in the night, and in the morning they disturb the innocent citizens. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So the civil senator Danduse, what you are saying in essence is that even those that are being killed are actually the innocent ones, because the real criminals operate in the night. And so I think, thank you for this. I think we should go into the prayers, because almost everybody has the same view. I've not seen anybody who is opposed to this. So the prayer one, condemn the indiscriminate shooting by officers of the Nigerian Customs Service, particularly on the 10th July 2023 in Katsina State. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the Nigerian Customs Service to fish out the erring officers and investigate the incident that led the custom operatives to open fire on an unarmed civilian. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3. Urge the Nigerian Customs Service to improve on the training of its personnel in handling of firearms, especially especially this is what I have here, especially fire discipline. Maybe I'm sure it's maybe. Okay, fire discipline. Fire discipline when dealing with Nigerian citizens. It's a military term. Those in support of this military term in prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Any additional prayer? Yes. Receiving Senator Abo.
Mr. President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Ishiaku Abo. I represent the good people of Adamawa North. Mr. President, I have an additional prayer, and additional prayer is the Senate should constitute an ad hoc committee to investigate the matter and recommend further solutions. Thank you.
Any seconder? Yes. Your neighbor behind you.
Mr. President, sir, thank you very much. I am Sharaf Adin Ali representing the good people of Oyo South Senatorial District. I have an additional prayer. I rise to